Welcome back to Let's Talk DeKalb. DeKalb's Office of Economic Development does so much, but especially helps facilitate the success of small businesses. And here to talk about that now with us is the director, Charles Watley. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me on
You're
the show.
welcome. You're welcome. Now, many people might say, I've heard of economic development, but what do y'all do?
Well, we work with businesses large and small on a range of things, from working with companies that are really at the early stages of thinking about what they would like to do, individuals who are entrepreneurs, people who are considering opening a business, all the way up to major corporations who are looking for a particular site and might consider DeKalb as their next home. For small businesses, there's a little bit more TLC involved. So we want to make sure that those entrepreneurs are connected to the right resources, meet with our partners who provide services and access to capital, and really we help them navigate the county's processes that are required, whether it be for building permits, business licenses, and other services they may need from the county.
And you mentioned partners, and the partnerships are so important because DeKalb County can't quite do it all alone, but it helps you maximize the help for all these different businesses and these people that have these great ideas and want to become, the next great thing, I guess.
Exactly. And our partners come from the federal government, such as the Small Business Administration, Department of Commerce, the Economic Development Administration, and then on the local level and private level, we have organizations that are funded by the county, such as DeKalb, that provides micro-lending services, and then others that have a wide range of funding sources, such as ACE, which is Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs. And both have offices and operations here in DeKalb County and are really strong partners and strong resources for small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Okay, and you said capital. Well, what kinds of resources are available for small business especially, and what kind of programs?
Right. Well, the range starts with micro lending, which might be up to $25,000 or $50,000, and in some cases those micro lenders even do very, very small loans to help people build credit for home-based businesses, and those could be as small as $500. And then you start to go up to larger loans for particular purchases, for equipment, for supplies, machinery, so forth. And those can range anywhere from $20,000 up to, say, $250,000.
Wow.
And those are available through DeKalb, ACE. Then the Small Business Administration has larger loan programs where they essentially are guaranteeing a bank loan for some portion of that bank loan.
Okay.
And those loans range from several $100,000 up to $10 million. And so as companies grow, because what we expect is that our small businesses are ambitious and don't plan on staying small for long, and that their growth arc is important to the county as they create new opportunities and bring new investment.
How does somebody get a loan? You can't just walk in the front door. There has to be some sort of preparation. What are some you can't do all of it, but what are some basic details that how would they prepare? What would they bring to you?
And the underwriting or the criteria that typically you find with banks is pretty straightforward. They want to know that you have experience, you have collateral, you have a good market and a business plan. And that requires typically businesses that have a track record of 3 or more years. So for the startup, that capital is what they like to call friends, families, and fools. And so,
that's easy to remember. What does that mean, though?
so if you look at a lot of the history of companies, the founders have been able to convince their friends, their family, and others that even though this is risky and we're new to this, we think we can innovate and really do something creative in this space, and we need your capital to make that happen.
Okay, all right. Now, maybe you could give us, there's so many examples, but a couple of them that DCTV has even recently focused on. Tell us about them.
All right. Well, one is CIS Biotech, which is a medical science, medical diagnostics company that focuses on really 2 areas. The first is predicting strokes. And so they've got some blood tests, so they're non-invasive. They look at blood parameters, and they're able to come up with some metrics of who is most likely to have a stroke.
Great invention
and
or
the
discovery.
test is reasonably priced,
right.
and it's effective. and they're in the early stages of really using it in testing labs, but eventually would like to go to the FDA so that it could become a standard test nationwide and potentially globally.
Absolutely.
Similarly, they have a test also used to look at concussions, to see who has suffered a concussion. And
we're hearing a lot about that in the news today,
exactly.
Especially with football, so that's great too.
That's right.
Has a lot of promise.
Exactly. Another company is Steel Mart, and so they're an active business that moved to DeKalb. We work closely with them on getting a building permit in a fairly short period of time, less than a month. They've opened up. They really are doing some phenomenal things. They really are a service provider and a steel supplier to the construction and manufacturing industries. And they're based right here in DeKalb County and are growing really rapidly. And so we're excited about what they're doing as well.
Very exciting. When you say growing, too, I bet a lot of our viewers are wondering, what does classify as a small business?
Well, that varies by industry. But in general, the Small Business Administration will start to look at anything that's really got revenues of above zero up to, say, 10 million in some industries and up to 100 million in others.
Wow.
And so it's a broad range by the federal definition.
Okay.
When we look at small businesses often, we really classify them not just by revenue but by their focus. So you've got sort of what people would traditionally call a mom and pop. So they may have a grocery store, a small corner store. They might have a dry cleaner or some other small business that's really service-oriented or retail. And then you've got entrepreneurs who may be looking at a field a little differently. They're trying to bring some innovation to it. And in some cases, it's not a market yet. So they're creating a market.
Right.
And that's a different kind of growth arc, and the potential could be significant. And when we think about those, we're often thinking about tech companies, life science companies with new discoveries and so forth. And so the range is pretty broad because if you think about a company that does soft drinks, one that makes 100 million is a small business when you think about them relative to Coca-Cola and Pepsi.
That is true.
So it depends on what the big leagues equal in those. In some industries, the biggest company in that industry might be 50 million.
Oh, wow.
So it just depends on where we are in the stage of that industry.
All right. Well, thank you for giving us just, a little hint, really, because I can tell that y'all do so much. Something else that people might not realize is that your office and department also helps facilitate people who want to come here, businesses that want to come here to film in DeKalb County. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Randy Mason in my office manages our Camera Ready program, which DeKalb was one of the first counties designated as a Camera Ready county in Georgia. Last year, we worked on 38 projects, 38 projects, which was about a 46% increase over the previous year. Those projects range from major studios, major producers, to independent film. And so the film entrepreneur has access to services and assistance in DeKalb as well. And that ties in to a focus that the state has and that the county has on attracting film, television, and other creative industries.
That's pretty exciting for right here in DeKalb County. And you want to be sure and catch in a future Let's Talk DeKalb. We'll go more in depth about the movie industry here in DeKalb County. What would you say, having seen so many businesses, just a final piece of advice for someone who's not 2 and 3 years in but has this great idea? Any advice to any of our viewers?
Yeah, well, entrepreneurs focus on the solution to a problem or to an issue that people have, not on the bureaucracy, not on the structure of the business.
Right.
They're focused on how do you solve this problem for a large number of people or for a specific market or a group of folks. And so I just say be innovative, understand your industry, study it, and find good mentors who may or may not be in that exact industry, but who have traveled that path before and can give you some good insight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
very good
much.
Words to kind of end our interview, and we appreciate it very much, you being on our show today.
My pleasure.
All right, and stay tuned because at the end of the show, we'll have telephone number, websites, if you want to learn more about economic development.
Time now for a DCTV Small Business Spotlight.
Every year, there are approximately 15 million people worldwide that suffer from a stroke. In fact, here in the U.S. alone, more than 800,000 people suffer from a stroke every year. The worst part? 200,000 of those people did not know they were at risk until it was too late.
Almost everyone either has a family member or knows someone who's had a stroke, and it changes their lives.
But Robert Reinhardt and his team at CIS Biotech Incorporated at DeKalb Medical have created a breakthrough destined to change, or better yet, save lives. The team has created a blood test that can predict if someone is at risk of having a stroke within the next 6 months, even if the patient has no symptoms.
When we met with the FDA on that, one of their scientists says this is nearly a perfect test. It's a blood test outside the body, no risk to the patient, preserves quality of life, and saves enormous amounts of money in not having to take care of stroke victims.
Reinhardt is proof of the test's success. He took the test 10 years ago and learned that he was at risk himself. In fact, doctors said if he hadn't taken the test and took proactive steps to combat the risk, he would have suffered a stroke or major heart attack, or both, within less than 6 months.
The test basically saved my life, and there are hundreds of thousands of people out there who, if they had our test and their physician knew they had a problem, they could be prevented from having a stroke.
The blood test kits have been used in the U.S. for more than 12 years and are being used worldwide in more than 27 countries. With each day, more and more clinics and physicians are preventing the heartbreak of suffering a stroke, and CIS Biotech Incorporated is steadily growing from a small business located here in DeKalb County to a global life-saving company.